If you're going to pay cash for the property, that means you're going to borrow the money. If you're going to borrow the money, you better factor that into this equation. I have not, because where does it say you got to borrow the money to buy this house for cash? If I have a partner put up the money, what's your name?
Damon.
Damon? If I have Damon put up the money, am I going to make monthly payments? No way. He's either going to get half the profit or he's going to become a private lender. He's not going to be both. So if he puts up the money, I don't have any interest payments. Or if I write a check out of my bank account, I don't have any interest payments. But if I pull out a MasterCard to buy this house, then I do have interest payments, don't I? How about if I get the seller to be my financier? Could I make the seller my bank? Split-funded offers. Let's look at a split-funded offer, because, folks, this is where you really ought to work toward. Split funding. Let's say that I offered to pay, let's say I got a $100,000 house, and my analysis here tells me that I could pay $60,000 cash for the house if I wanted to and still come out okay. However, I don't want to pay $60,000 cash because I have to go borrow it, and I got to pay the cost of borrowing it, and then I got to pay the interest costs on it. And is that going to add up in a hurry? You bet. So I say, I look for another way. Another way. Well, what if I make another offer to the seller? What if I say I'll pay you $65,000 for the house, but I'll pay you $5,000 down, and the balance of $60,000 all due within a year. No payments, no interest, but all due within a year, and that'll be a first mortgage on the property if it was free and clear. Do you see where I got the split fund? 5 now, the balance later. Now, when am I going to pay them the balance? After I've rehabbed it and sold it and cashed out of it. So I'm asking the seller, look, I'll pay you more, but you have to wait on it a little while. You wait a little while, secured by a mortgage against your property. If I don't pay you off, then you keep my $5,000 and all the repairs I do on the house. Would you pay $5,000 more to not have to raise the $60,000? Say yes. Because, folks, aren't you going to pay it anyway if you have to go borrow the $60,000? Yes. That's split funding. We will make some split-funded offers. We make split-funded offers to individuals, not to banks. Let's suppose my seller owes $40,000. In this case, what I would do is, I would say, I'll pay you $5,000. I'll pay you $20,000 of your equity in that year, and in the meantime, I'll make your monthly payment for you on your $40,000. All right, what's next? Sales cost. Sales costs are going to cost you another 3%. And if you don't think they are, you just go do one of them sales with a bank involved, getting your buyer a new loan, and take a look at that closing statement, and you're in for sticker shock. That lender's going to make up all kinds of them neat little fees to suck money out of you. Just believe it. And also remember that advertising to get your buyer is part of that cost. You will lose 3% of the gross sales price in the process of selling the house. And that is without a realtor. Next on your list is subtract a minimal acceptable profit. Well, what would you say would be a reasonable dollar profit to buy, rehab, and sell an $80,000 house for cash to a qualified buyer? What do your courses tell you the minimum I want you to make anytime you do that in dollars? $20,000. $20,000. Folks, if you can't make $20,000 doing all that hard work that Robin does, don't do the deal. And if you're not making 20, all it means is you paid too much. Fix that and you'll start making 20. 20,000 is the minimum. Do you know how much work that is? First you locate it, then you hire a contractor after you raise the money to buy it. Then, hiring a contractor is not hard. Well, it's not. Hiring them's easy. Well, getting them to come to the job is a little harder. Getting them to do the job is even harder. Getting them to do it right is even harder. Getting it done on time is impossible. But hiring them's easy. And then you get that out of the way. And if it's your first one, you'll probably go through 2 or 3 of them. Now what? Now you got to find a qualified buyer. A qualified buyer. Not those 150 morons are going to call you that couldn't buy a house if you gave it to them and paid for their cost. Not those. The qualified buyer. Then you got to get them a loan. Then you got to suck up to lenders. Then you got to go about compiling all this stuff. And then the magic day arrives. Then you go to closing. No less than weeks later. Absolutely not a few days later. Hopefully not months later. It's hard work. Not that hard, but it's hard work. Not as hard as I made it sound, but it's hard. I'll tell you right now, it is a process that you need to master, even though it is a very profitable process. It's fun. But I'm telling you, it is the hardest part of everything I teach to do. So I've got Robin in here to help you master that process. And I've got stuff in my courses to help you master that process. But if you think that that job is as easy as it is in your head, you got another thing coming. You got a lot of things that can go wrong. And if you're not willing to make at least $20,000 doing that on any price house, folks, I make 20 grand on $45,000 houses. There is no way I'm going to retail a house for 80 and only make 20 grand on it. Now, you give me a $150,000 house. If I'm not making 50, keep it. I'm not doing all that work for nothing. I guess that's a mindset you get into after a while, isn't it? Some of you in the room will be very tickled to get $10,000 out of your first rehab job. And I promise you, you'll only do that once or twice before you'll figure it out. 20 grand is the minimum acceptable profit on any retail job, period. The end. Case closed. And remember, we're structuring this as if we intend to wholesale it. If I'm going to retail this house, I'm going to get down to my maximum allowable offer here, but I'm not going to pay anywhere near it, I can tell you that. 20% of this deal is how much? $16,000. Well, that's cool. What's next? Hedge factor. What's that mean? That means a screw-up factor, mistake factor, all those Murphy factors. It also means that if I lower my price, it falls in my hedge factor, which you should not do. You know what? If you lower your price, it's probably because you didn't do a very good repair job to begin with. Or you got somebody selling the house that should not be selling the house. So that's another, what, $3,200. Okay? Whoops, $3,200. All right, just for the heck of it, let's add these numbers up. Forget the 10 now. Forget the 10. Now add up everything else. How much we got? How much? No. Forget the 10. That ain't right. Is it? Maybe it is. 24.8? Is that what it adds up to? Yep. Okay? That adds up to 24.8. Now, let's add our... Oh, that's what we got in right here, right? Yep. All right, now, let's take this 24.8 and this 10 and subtract it from 80. What do we got left? What's 34.8 from 80? 45.2? That's your Mayo. Maximum allowable offer. Everybody see how we got that number? We started up here and simply subtracted it. That's all we did. We started up here and subtracted all of our costs. We looked at profit as a cost, though, didn't we? That's all we did. We subtracted out. Incidentally, would it be cool if you could know what your profit is going in instead of getting out and hoping there's one left? Well, that's how I used to buy houses. I hope there's something left when I'm done. Right now, based on my formula, I know I'm going to make at least $16,000 if I pay that. Because all my other costs are in there. Even a surprise factor. So, that's my Mayo. Now, what does it say in your book about Mayo? We never pay Mayo. Never pay Mayo. Mayo is at or about what you're going to be selling the property to somebody else who wants to do all this work and retail it. Capiche? And if somebody did buy this property from you at or about Mayo, how much money would they net when they sell the house? 16 grand. Now, they're not going to see that. As many of you didn't see it. Some of you are looking at this right now. If I pay $45,000 for this house and I fix it, I got to net more than $16,000. No way. If it's worth 80, that's what everybody says until they've done it a few times. Because they don't see all those other costs in there. See, the greater fools will pay 55 once. And then by the time they get it all done and start adding up what their profit is, they realize, oh my God, I didn't think about all that other stuff. Some of you in the room here right now, you're saying to yourself right now, I don't need that hedge factor because I'm better than that. I know I can sell that house cheaper than $2,400. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You go out and do it and fax me the closing statement, and I'll apologize to you for being wrong. I'll sit right by the phone waiting patiently. But I wouldn't make any large bets on it if I were you, because those are the true costs of retailing houses. They are the true costs, not the la-la land, pie-in-the-sky seminar costs that you will be told to convince you to buy some books and tapes. That's what it costs to do business. So, when you're out here making offers on this property, and people can't understand why you can't pay more than that for an $80,000 house, can you understand why? Well, you just go do it, and you will understand why. But are you going to pay Mayo? No, why not? If I pay Mayo, and I want to wholesale it, how do I get paid? I won't. Because people who retail houses and do this are probably not going to pay Mayo. I mean, more than Mayo. So if they're not going to pay more than I paid, then I'm working for free, aren't I? And I don't particularly like working for free. I'm not a non-profit organization on purpose. And don't expect you to be either. Now, you got to remember, this house is ugly, ladies and gentlemen. This house is ugly. So if you have a hard time understanding why anybody could buy it from that, that's because you haven't seen the house. After tomorrow night, we'll come back and we'll talk about this some more. And maybe you can see why. Maybe you'll see what $10,000 does, and maybe you'll see why you're going to buy it cheaper than that, or you're not going to buy it if you're paying cash. What would you guys offer? 40 or below? That means you're willing to accept $5,000 for a wholesale profit. If I pay 40 and I sell it for 45, what am I going to make? $5 grand. Now, is it possible I can sell this thing for more than 45? It is possible, especially on an $80,000 house. But you know, if I sell it for more than 45, isn't it true that the person buying it has either got to do a lot of that work themselves, or they got to sell it very quickly to eliminate some of that hedge factor and some of those holding costs, or to even make out? Yes. If I sell this house for more than $45,000, much more than 45, is the person I sell it to ever going to come back and buy another one from me? Probably not. Why? Because they just went to a seminar and I was the teacher. And they're not going to go back to that seminar again. In fact, I had, you guys had Dennis and Monica Quattlebaum in the room. You Paper Power people met them. They just did a $300,000 house here. I was working on it with them by phone. They bought this house. They were into it for $196, $200,000. It was a $300,000 house right here in Atlanta, Polo Clubs. They just sold it last week. Now, you see a $100,000 spread there, don't you? Huh? Well, we finally got the final numbers day before yesterday. They netted $20,000 on this house. $20,000 with a $100,000 spread in it. In fact, Dennis told me that he had an offer for somebody to buy it from him for $30,000 more than what he paid for, as is. And that was 11 months ago when he bought it. So what are you going to pay? Less than 40, for sure. Folks, what you're going to pay depends entirely on the house. What you're going to pay depends on the circumstances surrounding the house. The quality of the house after repaired, the quality of the neighborhood, the sellability of the property in general. That's what will determine. And the seller, the type of seller you're involved, and more importantly, you're going to pay less if they're asking less, and maybe you're not going to pay more than that under any circumstances. But the less they're asking, the less you get to pay. The less they're asking, the less you get to pay. For example, if in fact somebody's asking $70,000 for that house, what are your chances of buying it? They're about as good as me losing 20 pounds by 6 o'clock tonight. On the other hand, if that same individual is asking $55,000 for that house, what are your chances of buying it? It's almost a bought, done deal. It's almost a bought, done deal. Because you see, the less gap between my offer and the asking price, the easier it is to buy. Eh? The bigger gap between this and the asking price, the harder it is to buy. Therefore, wouldn't common sense tell us that the bigger the spread between the asking price and the ARV, the better the prospect? I have just identified the number one pre-selection criteria for the junker business by far. It's called the spread. The bigger the spread between the asking price and the ARV, the better the chances of buying it. Ask Ray Rock if he'll go out and look at a house they're asking $70,000 for when he knows it's only worth $80,000. No. We knew the answer, Ray. We knew the answer. Ask me if I would. Absolutely not. Now we did all that work to arrive at our Mayo, didn't we? Let's add up our percentages over here. How much are they? 30%, aren't they? Is it 31? Okay, well then this is 3%. It's 30 now. I made the rules. I can change them anytime I want. 30%. What does that tell us? Doesn't that tell us that 30% of $80,000 is all of our costs except repairs? Do you see a percentage out beside the repairs? Yeah. No, you don't. Why can't you put a percentage out beside repairs? It's a case-by-case deal. It's a case-by... Incidentally, if somebody said, well, hey, just go offer 50% of the value of the property and you'll be doing well, what kind of a moron come up with that formula? If this house needs $30,000 worth of repairs, is it worth the same amount as if it needs 10? No, that's a stupid formula. Of course, that's better than swag, I guess. Actually, that is swag. 30%, ladies and gentlemen, includes purchase, holding, sales, profit, and hedge. In other words, it includes all of our costs except repairs, does it not? Everybody see that? Is that 30% going to be the same on any house, no matter what price range it is? The dollars are going to be different. But the 30% is going to be the same, isn't it? So in other words, the 30% automatically adjusts for the dollars, doesn't it? Based on the ARV. What if we did a different formula? What if we did it like this? ARV times 70%, because 100 minus 30 is 70, minus repairs equals Mayo. What is my ARV? 80. Times 70% is what? 56. Minus repairs is what? 46. You guys added wrong. Huh? Oh, it's 4%. You're right. You're right, 24. Okay. So what is this? Well, it's 30% of that's 24,000. That's what it is. And if that's 24, this is 46. Okay? So you can make these things say anything you want, can't you? So ARV is 70% of ARV. Mayo is 70% of ARV, which is 56, minus the repairs, brings it down to 46, doesn't it? Hello? Okay. So do I arrive at my same Mayo by using my little old simple formula as I did doing all that hard work up there? Yes? Okay. Will that work on any price house? Right? Oh, okay. Got a $100,000 house, needs 20 in work. What's the Mayo? Quick. 70,000 minus 20 is what? 50,000. Okay, got a $150,000 house, needs 25 in work. Try that one in your head. Wrong. Oh, you're right. 25 in work. Yeah. 70% of 150 is 105, minus 25 is $80,000. That's the Mayo, isn't it? Right? Okay. 139.9 needs 22.8 in work. No, never mind. All right. So you got the message, don't you? So tomorrow, all day long, are you going to be able to compute the Mayo by multiplying the ARV, which we'll give you, based on comps, times 70%, and subtracting out the $10,000, or the repairs, to get your Mayo. Folks, you've got to get that. You've got to get that, or you can't go to the next level. You got to get, even if you don't understand that formula, you get it written down and use it until you do. Because if you miss that, it's like missing the ABCs in grade school and trying to get to college. Of course, that don't seem to be that uncommon anymore. You got to get that. That's the formula. Do you have it? Suppose I got a $100,000 house that needs $10,000 worth of work and it's got a $50,000 mortgage on it, and somebody will just deed it to me. I guess that's still high equity, isn't it? But that doesn't mean that I have to go raise the money to buy it anymore, does it? Yes? You'll run across tons of stuff like that. It's not mandatory that we actually go raise the money to buy houses all the time, because not all of them are free and clear, even though they're junkers. So you're going to be buying it by, in this case, in this business, you're going to either be buying it by paying all cash, getting somebody else to pay all cash, or taking over existing debt, but you're still going to have a ton of equity in it. You don't buy junkers without a ton of equity in them. Now, after we get into some of the exit strategies, you will probably be able to figure out some exceptions to that rule, but the truth is, anytime there's a rule, there are exceptions, but we got to live by the rule. And then later we'll get to the exceptions and maybe harvest them when if our exit is clear in our brain, we can buy anything. But if that exit's not clear, you shouldn't buy anything at all. I had a question over here. Yes? I'm doing my personalized letter on junkers. Yep.
Should you or should you not use your logo on the stationery?
Should I or should I not use my logo on my stationery? You mean your letterhead? It depends. If I'm sending this letter to an individual where the house is not condemned, I would not mind using your letterhead. If you're sending this letter to people who have condemned houses because you went downtown and got the condemned list, I would not use your proper name of your company. In fact, if you're going to send letters to people with condemned houses telling them that their house is condemned and you'd like to buy it, you're going to get some people mad at you.
They didn't know it was condemned.
Well, they didn't know, or I tell you, we did this one time and we made the mistake of sending out the letter to these folks and not putting the address of the house that was condemned in the letter.
Oh, no.
So we would send them a letter saying your house is condemned. It never occurred to us that the house they're living in is not condemned. The one we're talking about is condemned. And man, you talk about some irate people. What do you mean my house is condemned? My house is not condemned. I live in my house. How dare you tell me my house is condemned? Is this some kind of real estate fraud or something? Oh, Lord. Yeah. Well, hey, they called anyway. So did you get the answer? Okay. Yes?
Is there a way, if there's not a realtor involved, before contacting the owner to know if there is a mortgage balance on the property?
Anytime you contact the owner, that's one of the first questions you ask, what's owed on the property.
No other
Well, you can get it off the courthouse records. You cannot get necessarily the current balance, but you can get what the original loan was and try to figure out pretty much what its balance is today. But frankly, you wouldn't go do that before you had an interest on the seller's part to buy the house. We don't do title searches on houses unless we got contracts on them. So the answer is probably not. But frankly, what good does it do to have that information if you can't contact the seller and they're not interested in selling? Our job is to find sellers who want to sell us the houses. Then we'll ask the information we want to need from them. And if they won't give us that information, you won't be buying that house anyway, will you? So again, we have pre-screened that prospect, haven't we? We have eliminated them. Absolutely eliminated them. If they don't be cooperative, we don't want to buy their house. So we got to deal with the ones that are cooperative and chuck the rest of them. Is there a big difference between suspects and prospects? Yeah? Suspects are somebody with a house for sale. Prospects somebody who wants to talk to us about buying it. And there are a lot more suspects than prospects. In fact, your newspaper's full of suspects. People that run the ads. And, they're very flexible as long as you pay them all cash, retail price, and close pretty soon. And pay most of the closing costs. Other than that, they're pretty flexible. Are those the people we want to deal with? No, they are not. Our job to get to the prospects, eliminate the suspects. Is that true for any business or just this business? Who's in business in this room doing anything else? What do you do? All right. In the retail business, if nobody comes in the store, he's not going to sell anything, is he? So his job is to get people coming in the store, isn't it? Does everybody who walks in his front door buy stuff from him? No. Those are the suspects. The prospects, however, buy stuff, don't they? And I'll bet you he's making the same old mistake that every business makes. He don't know who his customers are. Am I right?
You're right.
I'm right. Age-old marketing mistake. Wouldn't it stand to reason that if people walk into your retail store, you'd want to know who they are? So that you could invite them back, so that you could send them specials, so that you could be cool to them, so that you could send them birthday cards, so you can do all kinds of neat things. I mean, doesn't it make sense to you that if they walk into my store once, that they're probably going to come back if I give them a reason to? Right? Well, that's marketing 101. Well, I don't know how come the rest of the country don't understand it. But they don't. They don't. And so the first thing I'd do if I had a retail store is capture the name and the address and the phone number of everybody who walked through my front door, whatever it took. Whatever it took. I'd give them something. I'd make them enter a contest. Give away a cruise. The only way you get the cruise is fill out this so we know who you are. You know how much it costs to give away a cruise? About $300. And you only got to give away one a year. And then what do you do with the names? You let them know you love them. Come on back. You came in. Now it's time to come back. And a restaurant, a good restaurant. Can you imagine having a restaurant and not knowing who comes in and eats at your restaurant? Dumb. Absolutely dumb. I can assure you we know who you guys are. Now, what do you think the chances you guys are never going to hear from us again? They're worse than slim. they're nil. And isn't this the same philosophy that I want you to incorporate into your business when you're dealing with sellers? That is just basic marketing, folks. Time and circumstances changes the minds of all sellers, and if you give up on that first hit, you're losing 60 to 70% of your business. You can believe that. 60 to 70% of your business. You follow up with your, as far as I'm concerned, you can whack your suspects and follow up with your prospects. That'll keep you busy enough. All right, let's see what's next in our book here. Any other questions? In order to construct an offer, you have to know the repair costs, don't you? I'm going to do the best I can now. Tomorrow it's going to come out a lot clearer for you. But here's how we go about estimating repairs. This is what you're going to do tomorrow. We take the major components of a property and we put a price tag on those, and then we add those up and add a miscellaneous category, and that's our repair figure. The major components are pretty much listed right there on that page. There aren't that many in a house. In fact, if you look down at the bottom, see that square down at the bottom? What's our model house look like? 1,200 square foot, one-story house. And I don't care if it's block or frame or stucco. That's my model. For most of you, that's your model. For some of you, it'll be a 2-story square foot house from 1,200 to 2,000 or so square feet. If I got a 2-story house, am I going to have to adjust my cost a little? In fact, if I got a house bigger than 1,200 square feet, regardless how many stories, am I going to have to adjust accordingly? Yes, Ron. Okay. Let's look at our major components. In fact, let's go right down the list. Windows. Now, if I got a broken glass, is that a major component? No. When I say windows, I'm talking about ripping it right out of its socket and replacing it with another complete new window. If I got one of those, is that a major component? No. Only if I intend to replace all the windows in the house does it become a major component. Now, what would you think this job would cost? I'm going to rip a window out, and I'm going to put a new, not aluminum, but vinyl window in there. It's going to be white, and it's going to come complete with screen. I'm going to stick it right in the hole. The whole thing. In the South, with parts and labor, that'll cost you $100. Total. In the North, it'll cost you $150. Why? It gets cold up there. They like more of a window. Double hung. Now, I put windows in my house a couple years ago, and they cost me $350 each. But is that the kind of windows I'm putting in this house? No. No, sir. I'm putting decent windows in this house. I'm not putting garbage in this house. In fact, they're vinyl, white vinyl, and I'm telling you, you put new windows in a house, and you have changed the appearance of it drastically. Now, this $100 window that I'm talking about, what do you think the window itself is going to cost you? About $60. About $60. Don't take my word for it. Your average size window in your house is going to cost you $60. And I'm telling you, that's the whole thing now, screen and all. And the rest is labor. And even on the double hung windows in the North, you're only looking at about $75 or $80 for the double hung window. The rest is labor. Now you multiply that times however many windows in the house, and you've got the total cost of replacing all the windows in the house, labor and parts included. So what are you going to do? I know what you're going to do. You're going to walk around, you're going to count every single window. Let me see. That's a small window. I can probably get that one for less. A bigger window. I'll add more on there. No, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to say, this window, this house has got, let me see, I'm looking at, here's 8 windows. There must be 20 windows in this house. $2,000. That's what you're going to do. Tomorrow. At least while you're in front of us. Then when you get home, when you get home, you're going to have a measuring tape out there. You're going to measure this one. Nope. Windows are windows. Everywhere I go. Amazing, isn't it? But not in your city. Where you live, they're very, very high. And you can't get labor where you live to do any of this stuff. And just because you're there and you live there, it's cost you 100% more than it costs wherever we go. And it will, won't it? If you go to the wrong places and hire the wrong people. Tomorrow, you will see. Tomorrow, they cost what they cost. Let's move on down the list. Electric. Do you know what you're going to be doing when you rehab a house in the way of electric? You're going to be replacing a panel box. 9 times out of 10, that's all you're going to be doing, other than maybe changing some switches and some plugs. How much do plugs cost? I don't know, less than that iced tea I just had. 87 cents? Well, see, but we have to figure out how many of them there are in the house, don't we, Jack? Electrical only counts if it's a major electrical change, and rarely are you going to totally rewire a house, folks. Almost never. In fact, there's only 2 cases that I can think of when you will rewire a house. A, it's extremely old, or B, it's burnt. Or, of course, C, when you're building it. Almost never will you rewire anything else. You will replace a lot of panel boxes. You will replace a lot of switches and plugs. Electrical is almost always not even an issue. unless you know that the electric box needs to be replaced. And if it's got the screw-in fuses, it needs replaced, even if you're not going to put central heat and air in it. What's it going to cost to replace a panel box on the average nationwide? On the average, $1,000. Used to cost $300-400 where I live. Now it's about $1,200. Yeah, it's mostly fees. It's not the panel box. What's the panel box and all the switches cost? About $175. The rest of it is fees and the cost of the electrician. Now, would you guys ever even consider replacing a panel box without having an electrician do it? Say no. No, you would not. But that's your major electrical cost. The rest of anything that's done with electrical is not in the electrical cost. It's totally in miscellaneous. And when I put a ceiling fan in, do I have to wire it up? Yes. Be best, if you want it to work. Yeah. And when you change light fixtures, same thing. But that's not electrical, that's miscellaneous. Electrical is panel box or rewiring. Next. Pass up to miscellaneous, we'll come back to that. Kitchen. There's always one. I know I'm going to get an argument on this one. I got a model. What's my model? 1,200. So am I going to do any L-shaped kitchens in this 1,200 square foot house? No. I'm going to do one wall of kitchen cabinets, which is usually 5 or 6 feet. 6 foot of kitchen cabinets, upper and lower, countertop, sink, double, stainless steel sink, faucet, P-trap, and supply lines installed. How much? $1,000. Who wants to argue? Oh, come on. Surely somebody wants to argue. You're going to be looking at Mills Pride cabinets. You're going to be looking at the white classics or the finished oak looking cabinets. Done, finished, assembled. Tell you what, you guys price them out fancy now, will you? Let's get some trim on the top of our cabinets. All right. Here's your cost of materials. $728.50. 6 feet. Now see how close I get. $728.50.
$728.
Yeah, that's all. Remember now, that is countertop and sink.
Is that with tax?
No, that doesn't include tax. Don't push it. The rest of it is labor. Do you know how much labor there is involved in installing this kitchen I just described? You know how long it takes? 3 hours tops. Now, how hard is it to remove the old one? They take a screw gun in there, zip, zip, zip. Get this trash out of here, Johnny. Now they bring the other one in and they set it against the wall. It takes them longer to cut the square to put the sink in there, doesn't it, than it does to install the whole rest of the kitchen. All they do is screw it to the walls. It's no big deal. Oh, they gotta hook up the supply line. There's at least 3 more minutes. Right there. Yeah, it's nothing to install a kitchen. It's nothing. So why should it cost the labor that you got in your brain that it should cost? It doesn't. See, what you're picturing is them guys coming out to your house and putting surround cabinets all the way around you here and cutting the L shapes and putting the countertops in there and all that kind of crap that they do. And, you know, it could take them a whole day to do that kitchen. And, of course, that kitchen's not a $1,000 kitchen, is it? Now, do you put a $1,000 kitchen in the house where you live? No, I hope not. I hope you're... but I'm going to tell you one thing. This $1,000 kitchen's a nice-looking kitchen. It is a nice-looking kitchen. Hey, guys, you better listen to the ladies, because you guys, you got no taste. You don't. Let the ladies tell you what to do. You got no taste whatsoever. Your color choices are crappy. And the women buy them anyway. 100 green's the same price. You're absolutely right, Robin. Robin, anybody doing 50 houses a year, I'm not arguing with them. At least not about that. Bath. Folks, if you got to gut the bath and start all over, you're looking at $1,000. No more, and you're going to have a hard time spending $1,000. What's the toilet cost? $69. $99 if you want to get fancy. What's the cabinet and the sink cost? They'll have one in Home Depot tomorrow. Well, they used to have them. You know what? I think they discontinued them now. No, they used to have one for $69. It's got the sink down inside the cabinet in a box assembled, ready to go. Last time I went into one last month, though, they discontinued that. So let's put it this way: less than 100. Huh? For how much? 69. So they still got them in Connecticut, don't they?
Yep.
On the end of an aisle in Home Depot, look out for the cat. It's not in the bath department. It's on the end of an aisle. They don't want you buying that one. They want you to buy that $400 deal over there. It's on the end of an aisle. They're stacked up there, and the sink is right down in there. It's like a square box, and it's nice, ready to go. $69. Now, the only thing left is a bathtub and the miscellaneous fixtures. What's a bathtub cost? In fact, what's a one-piece tub and shower enclosure, fiberglass, which is what I'd put in there if I could get it in there, and if I had to change the tub? $350.
It's installed?
No, not installed. But I got $350 in a tub, I got $100 in the cabinet, and I got $100 in the sink. What's the rest? Medicine cabinet, towel holder, towel rack, and labor. Now remember, I'm not talking about my floors or my ceilings or my walls here. That's in a different major component. So, in fact, I'll tell you right now, you're not going to be totally gutting that many bathrooms. 50% of the time, you'll keep the tub and have it refinished, or it needs nothing. About 80% of the time, you'll be replacing the toilet and the sink. In fact, I'm telling you, it's good policy for you to replace the toilet even if it looks good. Because if you don't, you're going to be replacing it after they move into it and find out it don't flush very well. How do you think I know that? For $80, replace it. Okay, next. Wood's a case by case. How much wood cost? It is cheap. It's one of the cheapest repairs on a house, but yet it's one of the ugliest. It's one of the, rotten wood gets you more money than anything else I can think of. Because it drives the price of that property down because it looks so bad, but it's so cheap to fix. No matter where it's at on the house, rotten wood is dirt cheap. Wall, floor, ceiling, attic, under the house. It's cheap to buy and it's cheap to replace, even after hurricanes. Rotten wood is cheap. And termites, what do they eat? Wood. Do you know it don't cost any more to replace a rotten 2x4 than it does a termite-eating 2x4? How do you kill termites? You write a check. Correct. And they die. Just like that. It's cost of repairs. And it's cheap to kill termites. Termites don't cost much. Now, when they got to put a tin over it, that's a different story. But if you're going to buy a house and rehab it, well, should you know that it needs treated before you close on it? Yeah. You bet. You've got to verify these numbers before you close if you're going to rehab it. Now, if I'm wholesaling it, do I care? Nope. Carpet. Simple. No matter what you do to the floor, it's $1 a square foot. Now, this is assuming you're not going to put that expensive tile on the floor, right? Hello? Are we going to put that expensive tile on the floor on a 1,200 square foot model? No. Whatever you do to that floor, it's $1 a square foot. I don't care if you finish the hardwood floors. I don't care if you put linoleum in them, and I don't care if you put carpet and pad over it. It's $1 a square foot. Which comes out to how many dollars a yard? It comes out to about $10 a yard time you do waste, whether you know it or not. So, if I got a 1,200 square foot house, how many dollars? 1,200? You sure? You don't need a calculator for that? 2,000 square foot house. 1,600 square foot house. 1848. 2,000. You're right. You're right. 2,000. Okay, you got it. Carpet's easy. Roof. In my model. $1,500. Well, isn't that a roof over a roof? Uh-uh. That's ripping that sucker off down to the plywood and starting over. And I'll tell you right now, if you pay $1,500, the roofer's going to be laughing at you all the way to the bank. You can get it done a lot cheaper than that if you really work at it. Any roofers in here? Yeah. We're going to get the contractors. Don't worry. I wouldn't leave you hanging there. We're going to tell you where to find them, but that's what it costs. Now, if I were to call that big square ad in the newspaper under roofers, how much would this roof cost me? $5,000. $5,000. Hey, now if you were this roofer, would you rather charge $5,000 or $1,500? $5,000. So are we going to hold it against the roofer that he wants to make more than less? No, we're not going to get mad at him. We're just not going to hire him. He's the guy with a big square ad in the Yellow Pages to pay for. I'm looking for the roofer who doesn't have that big square ad. I'm looking for the roofer who advertises in the Shopper, the weekly paper, because he can't afford that $500 a month square ad in the Yellow Pages. AC and heat. How many of you live in the extreme north? Sorry. If you live in the extreme north, you're going to need central air in all your houses. Never? You don't ever put them in? Waterbury, Connecticut, don't have to. Okay? But Florida is not an option. Not an option. Atlanta, it's not an option. In fact, frankly, if I live in the extreme north, I'd want air. It's got to get hot up there 1 or 2 days a year. It's true, though, in the north. And now when I say extreme north, if I live in Nashville, am I going to need central air? You betcha. You betcha. You betcha. Now, do you guys want to buy houses without air? No. Do you think your people that can qualify for loans are going to buy yours without air? No. So you're going to try to cheat the system and leave it out and look for that 1 out of 100, huh? No. You're going to put air in it. You're going to put air in it. You're going to put heat and air in it. Now, you're going to be buying a lot of central heat and air conditioning systems. So how much on my model? Totally installed, $2,500. The tons on a 1,200 square foot house are about, you can get by with 2.5, 3's better. And between those two, there's going to be very little difference in price. Paint, interior and exterior on my model. And labor. I'm painting the whole inside and I'm painting the whole outside. How much? $1,200. Now, I know you don't believe that one. For sure. How much paint does it take to paint the inside of my model? But incidentally, remember, it's totally vacant. There's no furniture to move. Inside, how many gallons of paint?
5.
Who says 5? Not enough. No, not enough. Takes 10 gallons. Call it 10 gallons. Remember, it's 2 colors, right, Robin? 2 colors. Walls 1 color, trim another color. 2 colors. 10 gallons. How much paint is going to take to paint the exterior of my house? 15 gallons. 12 to 15 bucks will buy you very nice paint. And remember, they're going to be buying in 5-gallon buckets on top of that. They're probably, I'll tell you right now, $12 buys you good paint. 15 buys you real good paint. Okay? Well, I don't care. 15, and besides, if you buy 25 gallons of paint for a job, they're going to be carting 8 of it off to the next job anyway, because it don't really take 25 gallons. That's just what you're going to be buying. So what you going to do? You're going to be over there and say, I want the rest of my paint now, so don't you? Yep, that's what you're going to be doing, all right. So how much? 20 touch up what? I'm not touching this house up. Are you kidding me? I sell this house, they're touching it up. So that's 25 gallons of paint times, what do you want to call it? $15? How much is that? 400 bucks for paint, isn't it? Where's the rest of this 1,200 going? Labor. $800. How long do you think it takes to paint the inside and outside of this house? For 2 people. 2 weeks. That's what they'll tell you. How long, Robin? On my model. Remember, it's a 1 story now. Outside and inside. Huh? Outside's a day. Inside 2? No. They can paint the inside quicker than they paint the outside. Why? Well, they don't have to worry about the weather, but what else? Well, they don't have to get up. They don't have to get on ladders. And you know what they got now? They got fancy equipment now. If they got any brains. They even got rollers now. They stick a tube in the bucket. They don't ever have to dip their roller. They go zoop, 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 zoop. For your information, I did a test one time, and I painted inside of a 1,000 square foot house by myself. I just wanted to challenge myself. I did it by myself in 1 day. By myself, with no help, period, in 1 day. And I painted the trim a different color.
Did the ceilings and the walls?
Everything. Paint. They look good. They look good. Now you got to remember, there's no furniture in this house. There's nothing to move around.
You do paint before you put the carpet in.
No, there wasn't any carpet in there. No, they don't. Oh yeah, it would be better if they painted before the carpet went in. Yes. No, I just use a roller and a brush. I didn't even have any of the fancy equipment. Just don't take that long. It just don't. So if you got $800 worth of labor and you got 2 guys, is that going to pay them for 3 days? You bet. Yes, Terry.
Where your painter is having to paint a light color over a dark, if he can have his primer tint it the same color as your finish color, you can probably eliminate one of his coats.
Well, to tell you the truth, the paint that I use is 1 coat paint. You know, I don't paint it. They don't take 2 coats to paint the inside of a house. No, it doesn't. Not if you buy good paint. Now, unless you're painting over a dark wall.
I mean, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Light color over a dark contrasting.
Well, okay, but how often are you going to be painting over a dark wall? Fingerprints and dirt don't count. That's not a dark wall. If you paint over a dark wall, you might have to put 2 coats on it. So what? I'm telling you, they don't charge you hardly any more for 2 coats than they do 1 coat. Besides, does it make any difference whether I'm paying $1,000, $1,200, or $1,500 to get this paint job done? Plumbing. What plumbing? I got a new kitchen. I got a new bathroom. What's left? Hot water heater and the pipes in the middle. What are pipes made out of? Plastic. How much do they cost? Less than dinner tonight. They cost nothing. It costs nothing. And what's labor cost to put together pipes? Nothing. And how often are you going to be replacing pipes? Almost never. Almost all your plumbing in the house is kitchen, bath, or hot water heater. Especially if you got basements. How do they replace pipes in basements? They reach up over their head and they fix it. It's expensive, man. It's expensive. Incidentally, who is going to do most of your plumbing work in your houses? Plumber, you say? You're a general contractor. The guy that does everything else. He's going to do almost all your plumbing. About the time you're only going to need a plumber in there is when you got some special need, like you're trying to put plastic pipe to cast iron, or you're trying to clean out a drain outside or something of that nature. Then you're going to have to call a plumber. Those are your major components. Now there's some additional components down there you might want to look at. Oh, foundation problems. What about those foundation problems? That sounds serious. And it is, isn't it? A foundation problem is good or bad? Who says bad? Who says good? Who's not going to commit? Foundation problems are good. They are good. To me. Why? Because they cost a fraction of what you think they cost, but they play havoc on the purchase price of that house. They're just like rotten wood. You tell me a foundation problem that is not fixable. I know of one. A sinkhole? I know of 2 now. Even the sinkhole is fixable. The only foundation problem I know is not fixable is when you got a house sitting on the side of a mountain out in California. I don't know what to do about them foundations. You know, they're falling down the side of the hill. What you tell me what kind of foundation? What about basement walls? What are basement walls made out of? Concrete blocks. A block costs $1. Now, what's on the outside of that wall? Dirt. Is it pretty cheap to dig up dirt? Yep. Now, what's on the inside of the wall? Air. It's even cheaper, isn't it? So what do we got? What's this wall made out of? Concrete blocks and mortar.
How about cracks?
How about cracks? How do we fix this stuff? You prop up the basement right there, you snatch out the old blocks, you put in new blocks, and you seal it up with mortar. Inside and out. It's all labor. Ain't that much of that. But if you're not careful, they'll lead you to believe it is and sock it to you. You know, I used to be in the automobile business. The whole part about the automobile business I liked the best was fixing air conditioners. Because no matter what else was broke on that car, People would not go without air in Florida, and I charged them anything I want. They didn't know. They had no difference. So they come in. They thought it cost a fortune to fix it, and it did. I just met their expectations. That's all. It was a lot of work, but it was all labor. It was almost all labor. And same thing with houses, folks. It's perceived value. Just take a good hard look at these repairs the next time you think it costs so much money. And ask yourself, well, where's the money going? How about houses that are off grade and they're sunk? It is no harder to jack up a house than it is jack up your car. In fact, it's easier. All they do is set the jacks. They got these screw jacks. They put a block down here, and they put a block above it, and they screw the jack to the house's level. And they leave the jack there. However many of them in there they need. And it's level. That'll be $5,000, please. Oh, it's easy. It's pathetically simple to jack up a house. Oh, and they don't even go under. Most of the time they rip up the floor and stand on the ground to jack up your house. And they say, I don't want you around now. It's unsafe. You go away. Basically, I don't want you to see how easy this was. Nothing to jack up a house. Well, what about slab floors? Cracked slabs. Huh? How many of you from Houston? You got a ton of them there, don't you? Houston is cracked slab sinking house central. Because the sand, and hey, they sink in Houston, they come up in Dallas. It's true. Houston, they sink, in Dallas, they rise. That's true. It's absolutely true. So if I got a slab house that's sinking, what do I have to do to fix that? Not as simple as putting a jack under there, is it? Huh? It's a whole lot less work than you think it is. See, the people who know how to raise foundations will come in there and they'll dig holes down there and they'll pump it full of concrete and pump the house right up and let the concrete sit there and dry and it's done. It costs approximately, on the average, on my model, let's say the whole corner of the house is sunk. $3,000 to fix it, max. $5,000 will jack up the whole half of the house. And then once that's done, you just fix the cracks in the walls. And you fix the problem that scares people to death because they don't understand how the repairs work. You should be looking for foundation problems. They are a license to buy the house dirt cheap if they don't scare you to death. Question? Do I add appliances? That's a personal thing. I don't. Some do. Do you, Robin? Yes? I don't. I'll tell you why I don't. First of all, in my model house, all it does is make the kitchen look smaller. If you think about it, we don't have a big kitchen in my model house. And second of all, I used to replace appliances until I found out that the buyers half the time had their own, and all I was doing was donating a set of appliances to them they didn't even really need and would have bought the house without anyway. So in my later years, I never did add appliances. But if I had a buyer that came in and says, I buy the house, but I don't have any appliances, then I would say, is that the only thing keeping you from making this house your next residence? And if they would say, well, yeah, I say, well, so you're telling me then if we have some appliances in here, we are ready to get the paperwork done and get your loan in the works, right? Well, yeah. Well, if the appliances were here, what color would you prefer they be? Oh, white. Well, I'll tell you what, as soon as we get your loan approved, I'll have you a brand new white refrigerator sitting right there. And a brand new white range sitting right there. Fair enough? Sign here. Give me money. Done. Don't let them stop the sale of the house, but I'm telling you right now, if you put appliances in there, you're giving away $1,000 on 50% of your deals because they don't need them. Yes? That doesn't mean you got to fix the hole, though, that the appliances go in, don't you? All right, let's move on down the list here. I got my major components. Garage door, double garage door, how much? $700 installed. Single, $350. Driveways, you can figure about $2 a square foot for concrete, folks. And that's installed. About $2 a square foot. On asphalt, you can figure about $1.50. Okay. Now, how do we figure miscellaneous? Here it is. This is a Ray Rock formula. You figure out what your repair costs are without your miscellaneous, give or take. And how do you do that? Let's see, this plus this plus this plus this equals this. It's an addition problem. In the beginning, after you've done it a while, you'll walk around and say, this one's 10 grand. In the beginning, you will add them up. You will never, ever renovate a house with a less than $1,000 miscellaneous number. Never. And that will rarely be enough. You should have at least 20% of your total estimate for repairs in the miscellaneous category. So if you got a $10,000 estimate, $2 grand of it ought to be miscellaneous. And if you don't think so, look at all that stuff that goes into the miscellaneous category. Bunch of little teensy-weensy stuff that we forget about. And how fast that stuff adds up. And that includes holes in the walls and light fixtures and ceiling fans and door knockers and mailboxes and door numbers and doors for that matter. Front door as well as interior doors. There's a lot of stuff that goes into miscellaneous and it adds up quick. And I'd rather see you overdo the miscellaneous than underdo it. On a $10,000 job, you should have at least $2 grand in miscellaneous on almost any job. And common sense will tell you, if I got a bunch of walls kicked out and I got a lot of stuff I got to do that don't fall into my majors, I'll just increase my miscellaneous. We make killer bucks with crap. That's an easy way for you not to forget your majors. See that? Okay. See that? I see that make a big impression on you. And now, let me tell you how to estimate repairs the Ron way. This is brand new and improved. You ready? Okay. Here's how you're going to do it. You listen to this, Robin?
Yep.
Cameron? Yep. Okay, here's how we estimate repairs nowadays. The job needs either $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25,000. One of those five. That's all there is. And rarely is it going to be five. In fact, if it's five, you're probably going to pay way too much for the house. So in reality, the job is going to need 10, 15, or 20, 85% of the time. And it gets above 20, you better be very careful, because you got a major, major rehab on your hands. So what you going to do if it comes up 7? It's 10. Yeah, we round up, we don't round down. 10, 15, or 20. That's all there is. 1750 is 20. That's all there is. You can go home now. That's all there is. Oh my God, what if I'm wrong? Well, you die. If you're wrong, you die. If you're wrong, nobody cares, including you, because it makes no difference. Incidentally, are you ever going to be right? Oh, no way. I've never been right on a repair estimate in my life. It was always a few dollars more than what I thought, or less. Never right on the money. So let's get this estimate and repair nonsense out of your head. Tomorrow is 10, 15, or 20. And hey, if you don't know which one, just pick one. Just pick one. You've got a third chance of being right, don't you? Now, all right, let's say I got a 2,000 square foot house, but it's 2 stories and it's 1,000 a story. Is my roof going to cost any more? Yeah, it is, little, because it's on the second story. Is my exterior paint certainly going to cost more? Yes. Is my interior paint? Yes, because I got a lot more square footage to cover. What's my carpet going to cost me? $2 grand. 2,000 square foot, $2 grand. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, what else? Is my kitchen going to be any different? No. Are my bathrooms going to cost any more? No. Is my air conditioner going to cost more? Yes. Here's a good rule of thumb. Electrical contractor, bear me out on this, because you probably know, and I know many of you know. For every half ton you go up on your air conditioner, after 3, you can add about $500 to your cost. Every half ton you go up, you can add about $500 to your cost. Every half ton after 3. And for every 500 square feet, you can go up a half ton. Is that about right? About right. So if I got a 2,000 square foot, if my 1,200 square foot house can be done with 3 tons, How many tons am I going to need on my 2,000? 4 tons. And so can I add how much to my cost? About $1,000. And it will cost you $3,500 to put central heat and air in a 2,000 square foot house, whether it be 1 story or 2 story. For every 500 square feet you go up, add a half a ton. And for every half a ton, add $500. So with just a little bit of practice, you can raise your repair estimate as to the kind of house. Now, folks, I'm telling you, it's a heck of a lot difference renovating a $400,000 house than it is a $100,000 one. You all understand this? Okay, we put a lot better stuff in the higher priced ones than you do in the cheaper ones. Not necessarily that much higher, but I wouldn't put any higher priced carpet in them. But you're going to be putting tile floors in some of those. You're going to be putting certainly a lot more kitchen area in those. Even if you don't use better cabinets, you're going to use just better looking stuff all the way through. And besides, the higher priced houses generally have a lot more square footage in them, so that in itself will increase your repair cost.
Ron, do you put appliances on those big houses?
Do I put appliances in a big house? I don't put appliances in any house. None. But the big ones usually come with them, and if they... Now, built-in appliances is a different story. I mean, if it's got a built-in dishwasher and it's nasty, I'll replace that. Or garbage disposal, whatever. Okay? Incidentally, what does a dishwasher cost at Home Depot? $200. $200.